everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I will line this adorable crocheted cat bag that I made as a trick-or-treat bag for my daughter. So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to add a zipper to your lining and how to include this adorable zippered pocket that is within the lining. And it's just super cute, so stay tuned. Because this bag in particular has a really open lacy crochet, I am going to double line it so that I have this glow in the dark fabric facing out for the crochet, and so that I have this really cute kitty pumpkin Halloween fabric is what you see when you open the bag. So to get started, we are going to start with one of our two types of fabric, and I'm going to lay it under my bag like so. And I have this folded in half so that I don't have to cut it twice. And so I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to take these off of here because I do not need them and they will just be in the way. So I'll remove my straps, and now I'm just gonna lay this flat on my fabric so that I can trace it. And because this is expensive glow-in-the-dark fabric, I'm going to try and make it so I use only what I need and no more than what I need. Now, one of the nice things about crochet outer pieces like this one is that the crochet itself is really thick. And so when you have it laying flat like this, you don't need to worry so much about your seam allowance, because the bag itself is already so thick that by tracing it just like this, you're already kind of leaving room for your seam allowance. So the piece that we get by tracing it like this is actually going to be the size that we need, including the seam allowance for when we stitch it. So I'm just doing a quick trace on this guy. And my trace is coming out really bumpy, but that's okay because I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I am just going to cut through both layers of fabric with my rotary cutter. There we go. Now I have my pattern piece. All right. Now I'm gonna take these, and you can see where there's some parts where I trimmed it and it's kind of funky. So I'm gonna just clean that up a little bit, like so. All right, and now I'm just gonna take this piece and I'm going to sew all the way around, starting where my bag piece comes out. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to sew all the way around to here. So I'm going to give myself a little stitch marker. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so now I'm going to sew all the way around from here to here. All right, now I have my bag, this first part of my liner sewn. This is the easiest part of this whole project because this is the part that really is just there so that we can see this side of it. Now, because I am going to be flipping this inside out and this is a curved edge, I'm actually going to take my pinking shears, which it's not really necessary to use pinking shears. You can just snip without cutting through. You can just take your scissors and snip all the way around the curves so that it sits a little bit flatter and easier. But instead, I'm going to use these because I'm lazy and I like fancy things. There we go. I am going to be adding a zipper in this bag. You may notice that I moved this down from the top a little bit, and I know on the last one I said I want to try and conserve my fabric by saving as much fabric as I can, by putting my piece as close to the edge of my fabric as I can before I trace it off and cut it out. But I need to leave extra seam allowance here because I'm actually going to cut this into 2 pieces. So I'm going to take from here all the way down. So I'm tracing it just like I did before, but this time I'm going to stop at this part here because this first piece is going to be flat on the top. And so now I can take my handy dandy ruler and I can kind of just line it up so that I have this top part here. And then I'm going to add another 1/2 inch here like that because I need room for my zipper piece. And so this is kind of hard to see, but it's there, I promise, and I can see it. I am now going to take this top part here, and now I'm going to reline it up, and now I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to put them up to the top. My tips here. I'm going to put those up higher. And again, I'm doing this kind of funky so I can create a seam allowance for a zipper. And you'll see what that's going to look like here in a second. And I learned the hard way that you cannot just make the pattern piece and then cut it in half. That does not work. And you can see I have this nice little chunk here that will work for my seam allowance. So now I'm going to take my handy dandy rotary cutter and I'm going to cut out this one piece, and then I'm going to copy it so that I can do the second piece. So you can already see that this piece is bigger, and that's what we want because we are going to have our zipper going along here. And when we have our zipper here, we're going to need to have room in this to put that zipper in. But I'm not worried about having the zipper attached to this piece because it doesn't need to be. So now I'm going to cut along this line here that I created earlier. And I want to make sure I'm going straight across because I think I made my line crooked earlier since I'm in a rush. Yep, my line was totally crooked. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it about here on this second top line. Don't want to use bottom line because remember that bottom line was the line that we found for where we want our seam to actually end, but we're putting in a zipper, so we're giving ourselves some room. If you're super, like if you're really particular about your fabric and about your sewing and making sure your seam allowances are really spot on, you might actually want to measure this a little bit better. I just kind of eyeballed it, but I've been doing this a long time, so. Okay, so you can see here, I have my bag, I have my seam allowance for my zipper. So I stick this guy right here, and then I pretend like I have my seam allowance. And so instead of putting this right there like that, I'm going to overlap it like this so that I have all this fabric to work with when putting in my zipper, and it still comes out to be almost the right size. And that's what we want. So now I need to make another like this and another piece like this. So I'm going to take my fabric and I want to be mindful of the direction of my fabric. I don't want to have my kitties going upside down or sideways. So I want to make sure that my kitties are still going the right direction. And now I'm going to take my piece and cut them out. I'm not going to worry about attaching my zipper to this guy because the zipper is only going to be attached to this part of the bag. It's not going to be attached to my glow-in-the-dark outer, and it's not going to be attached to the crochet piece. It is only going to be attached to the actual cute lining. So we have our bottom piece right side up. We have our zipper right side up against it, just like so. And then we have our top right side facing the right side of our bag. And then I'm going to just kind of line up my edges as best as I can. And for this particular piece, I like using Wonder Clips. They're amazing. Okay, now I can feel my zipper in here. So when I can, like, you can see the zipper is there, you can feel it. And so I want to make sure that I am aware of that while I am putting in or stitching this on my machine. And so I'm actually going to use my zipper foot for this so that I can get nice up and close to this the zipper here, because ideally I just want a tiny little bit of it to show. So now I sewed along here. I got nice up and close to my zipper. Now I'm going to test my zipper to make sure I didn't get too close, and it looks like I did not get too close, which is fantastic. So I'm now going to take all of this and move it out of the way over here. And if you want to, you might also like clip it or pin it out of the way, excuse me, so that it doesn't, clip it or pin it out of the way so that it doesn't get in the way while you are sewing this part. So once again, we are going to take our zipper piece and we are going to put it face up like this. And we're going to make sure it lines up with this bottom piece here. So we don't want this to be like misaligned. That'll make you sad. So instead we're going to make sure it lines up on this side and that it lines up on the other side as well. Then I'm going to clip it. So again, I'm going to make sure it is lined up there, and it is. And so now I can take that, put that clip there. And then I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to stick him on just like this. And again, I want to make sure he's all lined up. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch all along here to attach these sides to this other half of my zipper. And now you can see my bag can open like so, and it's so nice. It's so cute. Or my bag can close. So at this point, if I really wanted to, I could just stitch this closed, starting here and going all the way around here. However, I want to put a little pocket in, a lining pocket in this bag. And so I'm going to do that first, because once I sew it all together, I'm not really going to be able to do the lining pocket. So I'm just going to use my handy dandy ruler to cut a 9.5 by 9.5 inch piece. The reason I'm doing 9.5 inches by 9.5 inches is because I have a 7-inch zipper that I'm going to use for this. And so my 7-inch, bad cutting habits, that's okay, don't tell anyone. Okay, so I want my pocket piece to be bigger than my zipper, because when I fold this pocket piece in half, after I attach my zipper to it, I'm going to need to sew along here and along the top. And I need to have room for that. So again, I'm basically, by having a pocket piece that's bigger than my zipper, I'm leaving myself plenty of room for my seam allowance. And so generally, like a good rule of thumb is about 2 inches larger than your zipper. That way you have an inch on either side. In this case, I have about 1.25 inches on either side because I have a 7-inch zipper, and that's from here to here, 7 inches. And I cut a 9.5-inch piece. So I'm going to take my pocket piece and I'm going to find the middle of it by folding it in half. And I'm going to just do a quick little finger press. And then I'm also going to take this guy and I'm going to fold this guy in half. So now I'm going to take my pocket and I'm going to set it on there, about there. And I know it's centered because I folded this in half. And I folded this in half so I could find the center according to my zipper, not according to my bag. So it doesn't look centered, but it is. It's good. So now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw some lines. So I'm going to start about 1.5 inches away from the top of my fabric here. And I'm just going to draw a line across. And I don't really care about where these lines start and end because we're not going to see it once all is said and done. And now I'm going to put a line 1/4 inch above my first line. And then I'm going to put a line 1/4 inch above that. And so I have my 3 lines. Now, since I have a 7-inch zipper, I need to have a 7-inch box here. So I'm going to find my 3.5 on my ruler. And I'm going to know now, I'm lining up that 3.5 on my midline. And now I know that this is where I'm going to draw my first line. And then I'm going to draw my second line here at the 7, like so. And then I'm going to take my 1/4 inch mark and I'm going to put a mark here. And I'm going to take my 1/4 inch and I'm going to put a mark here on this center line. Then I'm going to draw diagonal lines and diagonal lines like so. And now I'm going to pin my orange fabric to my regular fabric. And so now you can see that my zipper will fit beautifully. It's going to be a perfect fit. So now I'm going to sew along this outer box. So along this line, all the way along here, this line, all the way along here. And I'm going to make sure I stay on these lines as much as possible. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my piece here. And so you can see I sewed all along this outer edge. So I can remove my pins. And now I'm going to take my my line here, that center line, that's actually my cut line. So I'm going to use my rotary cutter and just cut along that line, and I'm stopping. I'm not cutting through my triangles. However, I am going to want to cut as close to those triangles as I can get. And so I'm going to go all the way to that spot there. Then I'm going to take my scissors, my nice sharp little scissors, and I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to cut here, here, and here. And I'm going to make sure that I do not go through that stitch line, but I'm going to go as close as I can to it without going through it. And now I'm going to take my pocket and I'm going to flip it and I'm going to shove it through this hole. Okay, so now I'm going to take this pocket. I just flattened it. I'm going to flatten it out like this. No, Dexter. And I'm going to now take my iron. I have this handy little tiny pressy guy for stuff like this. I don't have to use my whole big old iron with my big old ironing board. And I'm going to just press this in place. Now, at this point, you could top stitch this all the way around. So after I press it in place, I could go and top stitch all the way around here to just make sure this really stays put. I don't think that's necessary, honestly. I think that sometimes people over top stitch things. It can look nice, but only if you're really good at sewing straight lines. And top stitching, it can be really obvious when your top stitching isn't done properly. And I just don't like the way that looks. So I'm not going to top stitch this because I don't feel like it. I'm a lazy sewer. But I am going to take my zipper and I'm going to unzip it just a tiny bit. And I'm going to throw a couple stitches just right here on the other side of this zipper stop so that way it stays nice and closed even when my zipper is open. All right, so now I have my zipper and I'm gonna take this zipper and I'm gonna center it on my little space that I made for the zipper here. And I like to do this from the other side because I wanna see what everyone else is gonna see when they open the bag, not what no one's gonna see. So I'm gonna take my zipper, I'm gonna make sure it's nice and centered. Like that. And then I'm going to take my pins, because I can't really clip this easily. So instead I'm going to take my pins and I'm just going to pin this in place. And I'm just going to sew like 1/8 of an inch away from this seam all the way, ow, all the way around. Dexter. Hey, Dexter. All right, so now I don't need this mat anymore, as much as Kitty loves it. Okay, so now I'm going to clip my threads. And on the back, I'm going to make sure I caught all of the zipper tape. Because if I didn't, that would give me some holes. And so you can see here, I almost lost it right here, but I managed to hold on to it. So that's a good thing. So now I'm going to take, excuse me, I'm going to take my lining and I'm going to sew along here. And the reason I'm sewing along here and not all the way is because I am double lining this bag. And so I'm going to need to flip it right side out when I put my cute piece together with my glow in the dark piece. And so I'm actually not going to stitch this side at all. So I'm going to sew from here, about where my zipper is, from here and all the way up and down. Okay. So now I have a pocket with this fun orange inside, and when I reach in here, I can get my hole because I'm going to be able to use this hole to flip my bag, and then I will come back in and I will just stick it together like this, and like so. Once I'm ready, after I flip it, and then I will just throw a stitch right there, and that will close up my entire thing. But for now, I'm gonna leave it open so I can use it. I need to sew this part closed. I'm gonna leave this part open so that I can access my zipper. So now I'm just going to sew I'm gonna open this so it's out of my way. I'm gonna sew from here to here. So I'm going to stitch all the way around, and I'm going to do it on this side because I want to make sure I don't accidentally catch my pocket lining in this seam. That would be sad. And now I have my lining is free. My inside of my bag is cute, cute, cute. And I'm just going to trim this with these guys. I don't really need to trim them with these as much now because they are, this is all going to be concealed in the bag, and because I'm not flipping this. So I'm not really doing this so much so it's flat. I'm more just doing it so that it's nice and neat within the bag. All right, and now we are ready to put these two bags together. So I'm going to take my glow-in-the-dark bag, and I'm going to take this bag here, and I want them to have right sides together. So basically I want the part that I want facing out on my glow-in-the-dark bag to be touching the part I want facing in, the pretty part that I want showing on my lining. So I'm going to take the glow-in-the-dark piece that's going to be the outer. I'm going to have it flipped so it's the way I want it. I want it right side out. And now I'm going to shove it inside this bag. And now I'm going to line up these outer pieces here. And I'm going to make sure, before I do that, this is very important, don't forget this. I'm going to make sure I unzip my lining pocket because I'm going to need to come in through here. Remember, we're using this lining pocket to flip the whole thing right side out. So I am now lining up these as best as I can. Okay, so now I have finished sewing all the way around this top part of my bag lining. And now I'm ready to flip it inside out. So we're gonna go to that handy hole that we left in our lining, and we are going to use that to grab our bag, and we're gonna pull it through the hole. We've just birthed a bag, although it was much easier than childbirth, let's be real. Okay, and now we're gonna take this lining part of our bag and we're gonna stick it inside the white glow-in-the-dark part that we want to show through our lacy kitty crochet. We're gonna just tuck that in there. And now I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna just pull these guys out a bit. I'm gonna take my bag hole, pick that so that it is nice and clean, and I'm just gonna throw a line of stitches along here because that's nice and clean. Tuck that in, and I'm gonna tuck this back in, and now I can zip this closed. You could press this at this point. Okay, Now I'm gonna take my bag, my little kitty, and you can see how this bag that started out way big and bigger than the kitty is now smaller than the kitty bag because I have used up all that seam allowance on the inside of the bag to make it really work nicely. So I know I want my zipper pocket to be on the side that doesn't have the kitty eyes, because in my mind that should go in the back of the bag. So I'm gonna now shove this in there, get all these little strings off, and I'm gonna take my bag and I'm now going to line it up once again with my kitty bag. And I'm going to use my clips. I like to just clip it in place at all the like corners. I'm gonna sew along here. Okay, finally I'm done with this bag. And so now I'm going to trim. So I sewed all the way around here, broke a couple needles because I was not paying attention, but that's okay. There are only a few certain things in life: death, taxes, and that you will break a needle or two at the very end of your sewing project. I feel like it happens every time on the last step of the project. And so now my kitty bag has the white lining that is glow in the dark on the inside. So hopefully that will show when it is dark. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Because those eyes are also glow in the dark. And then I also have my inside of my bag with the cute kitty pumpkin fabric. I have my zipper with my pocket that I closed after flipping it, and this whole thing will now zip closed. So all that is left for me to do is to put my straps back on, and I might make a little zipper pull. It is absolutely adorable, and it is super functional now that it can zip. I have a pocket, and she's gonna use it as her trick-or-treat purse. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's helpful. You can do this on any crochet bag. You can also do this on other bags that are other shapes. You can also just do this on tote bags without the crochet piece. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and give me a like. You can follow me, all that good stuff. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.